Okay, we're recording.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this ongoing series of empathy circles hosted by the Empathy Tent, created by Edwin Rucht. My name is Jessica. I'm going to be the co-facilitator today with Edwin on the topic of climate change and what do you feel about climate change, or any things you want to share about your feelings and anxiety about climate change. A little bit more about our intention about doing those, what we call empathy circles. Our intention is to bridge political and social divides and to build a culture of empathy with this tool that we call empathy circle. We are recording all of our empathy circles, so for people who are watching, you are invited to take part. It's free from the comfort of your home, as long as you have a good internet. You can visit us at empathytent.com or empathycircle.com to join, or even to become a facilitator. We also have a training to support you if you want to run and lead some empathy circles. I'd like to do a quick round, even though we know we are all friends here. If you can just share your name, where you are in the world. And this time, I'd like to ask you, why are you here? I can start. So my name is Jess. I am from France, but I'm living in Toronto, Canada right now, the East Coast. Why am I here? Because I do believe we need to talk more about what's happening for us and our planet, and how does it affect us. And I think the best way to get started is to talk about how we feel, and mostly the grief about, because I feel for me it's a grief to lose. We are losing this beautiful space, and it's a grieving process for me, and I think talking about it helps me to not go in depression. All right. Edwin, would you like to go next?
Sure. Edwin Rucht from San Francisco Bay Area. And so why am I here? I'm really see that dialogue, empathic listening, empathic dialogue is really the way forward, for connection and problem solving, and just for well-being. So I'm here to support the empathy circle process and practice, and get people together and change the world for the better.
Change the world, yeah. Sophia, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'm Sophia. I live in Sweden, Malmö, and I'm here because I just want to practice this kind of listening. I want to do it as much as I can so that I can be better at it. And eventually I want to do these kind of circles myself. And not only with global warming, but with all kinds of people with different kinds of opinions, because I see such value in it. So.
Great, thank you. Bill, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Bill Filler, and I'm in Northern California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a retired special education teacher. I also am a very big appreciator of listening circles, and I believe that the actual skills that are built up are as or more important than the subject itself. But global warming is an absolutely existential threat. And I think that we really need to move forward on it and look at solutions rather than useless arguments.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And Carolina?
Do you hear me properly? Because I experienced some problems with.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I. How about now?
Great.
I can hear you clear.
Okay, thank you. My name is Karolina Kubiak. I live in Gdańsk, north of Poland, Central Europe. My political leanings are kind of radical left with in short, radical left with Gandhian methods, Gandhian means. And actually, I'm involved in Extinction Rebellion here in Poland. So that kind of defines what I think about climate crisis very clearly. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Carolina. Quick logistic, we're going to stop 15 minutes before. It's going to be a 2-hour call, and we can do a round and talk about our experience about it, and how can we encourage people to do more of those as well locally or join here on the call. And we're just going to take turn, and we have created this 5-minute sheet where we have a time to, and you guys already know, so I'm not going to go too much detail. Let's just jump into it, and whomever want to start.
Are you timekeeping?
Yes.
Okay.
I will need to reach my phone though, which I haven't. Just give me 1 sec. There we go.
Okay, well, I'll start and speak to Bill.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's this is the group that's here, sort of the core group of people who are involved in the empathy circle practice, and so weren't able to bring in more people. So I feel a little discouraged that how do we kind of reach out and get more people involved.
Okay, so you're looking at the people here, and this is the core group. While you appreciate them and their presence, you're also looking and a little disappointed because you were hoping to get more people involved.
Yeah, one of the things is on Facebook, you can invite people to the event, mm-hmm. and they kind of start restricting how many people you can invite. Like I can only invite 50. We have 300 in the group. So it's nice to be able to invite people to the events, for this event so that they know. But then Facebook keeps giving you less and less invites that you can do. Sometimes you can do 500. Then if you use those 500, then the next time you can use less, and I can only invite 50. So I was a little irritated that, I could only do less invites.
Okay, so one of the reasons seems to be that Facebook has a restrictive policy on how many invites you may have, and so once you use up your quota, they progressively restrict it.
Yeah.
So therefore, it didn't go out to as many people as it could.
Yeah, so I feel some irritation with Facebook that they're like this. Mm-hmm. They're sort of like this. They have all this control. They kind of control, how you can kind of use the. Instead of just people who are your friends, you send whoever you want, in an invite, and here they are kind of constricting, doing all this kind of constriction. I just find it really kind of concerning with Facebook on that aspect. So
you're expressing your frustration with Facebook and the fact that they're taking control, whereas Facebook originally, and the concept was kind of just free communication with your friends. Now they're stepping in with a heavier hand. Yeah, I guess I'm also thinking we had the topic of climate change, but since it's just the core of us, we can kind of talk about whatever comes up, whatever's alive. Jessica didn't mention that, but it's like climate change is the topic, but whatever is alive for us, I'm just sharing what's alive for me, sort of organizationally. Okay. So you're getting off the topic of climate change because you felt that this is a core group, and so you're just really talking about what's alive for you right now, what's active. Yeah, so I'm also thinking of what, we've done the topic of climate change, I think 3 times now in a row. So it seems to be doing the same topic seems to bring less people over time. So that's just sort of an observation that I think is a strategy it doesn't seem to be real effective. Maybe people that were interested in it, they did it, and then that's, so that's perhaps, I'm trying to just think what it could be. So one of the reasons, besides the restrictive Facebook rules, was the fact that we've been doing climate change over a period of time, and it might be that people are burning out on the subject, and so they're not attending.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Okay, great. Let's see. All right, Jessica, would you?
Yes, I'm listening.
Thank you. All right, well, I'll get on to climate change. Um, although, so one of the things that I hope in the dialogue is that we kind of move past the basically the false claims and the lies about climate change, that it is not happening. So therefore, I feel that all of that, white noise about, doubting and this and that is just getting in the way of us solving the problem. I'll stop there.
Yeah, it sounds like you
Mm-hmm.
probably getting irritated and tired to get stuck in hearing those
Mm-hmm.
unhelpful comments that climate change is a hoax, it's not real. You like, can we just move past that and then already talk about solutions, or focus more on solutions? And like, it seems that for you it's so toxic and so enabling to really get to really talking about solutions.
Right, and that's the essence of communication, true communication, and one of the reasons why I'm here doing the empathy circles, because it tends to foster authentic communication. I'll stop there for a second.
So I think what I'm hearing is, for you,
Mm-hmm.
what really is important, it's having honest communication with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing behind what you were saying is that, can we just stop the bullshit and really talk honestly? And you may be wondering that those people who say it's a hoax and stuff are probably lying, and that's just like, that's for you, it's just completely not helpful to having like, and it goes against your value and having honest communication and talking truthfully to each other.
Right. Now, I won't say, I mean, I believe that the industry representatives are lying. But there are, for instance, there was a gentleman who was talking about it last week. I don't think he's lying. And I have tremendous respect for him and other people who might be duped. But I would just go, so I'll stop there and then I'll quickly end with one more thing.
Okay, so you wanted to make sure that you clarify that you're not talking about individuals who really truly that they are completely like, no, this is not happening, and you believe that they are genuine in their expression. For you, it's the organizations, the people who are putting those white noise,
right,
and spreading false information,
right. Yeah, and an example is quite simply is climate change. Can man affect things? And we've had a drought for the last 6 years in California, and the drought is so much that the land has subsided 31 feet. So the land has gone down 31 feet because we're using up the waters in the aquifers. Now, once that happens, it's like it's not like a plastic bag that you can then reinflate. So we had a good year, but because the aquifers are smaller, then we reduce the carrying capacity of the land to hold the water. More is run off. So we are increasingly in a drought situation that's clearly happening because of man's activities.
Okay, yeah. For you, it's like you see it in real time. 6 years drought. You can see those are the facts. You can see it. It's recorded. This is the truth for you that's happening.
Right. And to my conservative friends and things like that, I think there are real free market ideas that would do wonderful, wonderful things for the economy and wonderful things for the environment. And we should really, unite around those and get to work.
So you do see some possibilities to combine with people, like you mentioned, like your conservative friends who believe in different, it sounds like different values than yours in free market, I think you said. And how can we really merge what we believe is possible and find solution towards the same focus on solving this climate change crisis?
Great.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, no, thank you, Jessica. I feel fully heard. I took you down a twisted path, but you stuck with me. Thank you.
Thank you. And it was like 1 second before 5 minutes. So Bill, you were perfect. Okay, I'll talk to Sophia.
I'm listening.
Thank you. I totally relate to what Edwin was saying. I'm going to go back to that, where I was thinking for today, man, this has been like, you said third time, Edwin, like it feels it's been more, but I was like, I don't know what more to talk about. I do feel I've talked enough, and I was thinking, what am I going to talk about? And I thought focusing on solution maybe. But I do hear Edwin about, I was thinking the same thing, that maybe the topic is not, or the way we phrase it is not attracting more people. I'll stop here.
Yeah, you're just relating to what Edwin said, that you're wondering if talking about global warning 3 times in a row. And I'm also wondering if you're feeling discouraged about not having people here, coming here, and wondering why they're not here. So yeah, so you're thinking maybe it's better to talk about solution. You're thinking about what you want to say today. Yeah.
I'd like to clarify. I don't think it's about not wanting to talk about climate change. I think it's about always the same question. What do you feel about climate change? And we've done some polls, and it seems that this question seems to be usually coming up. But I think I still want to talk about climate change, but just finding different ways, like to phrase it. And I don't have any ideas right now, but that was the thinking process. Also, in addition to that, my goal originally when I started doing those empathy circle focused on climate change was because I wanted people to talk about it. And now that we have Extinction Rebellion jumping on project with Edwin, I feel that maybe I can remove myself, because my goal has been achieved. Like Extinction Rebellion heard about us in the UK, and then now we can spread through Extinction Rebellion using empathy circle. So now I feel like maybe my goal is done here and I can move on to other projects. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, so you're maybe feeling that your job is done here, that the thing you wanted to achieve is already, you have achieved that, and you're thinking about, if your work is done. Is that correct?
More or less, yeah, because Edwin is taking on the climate change now, because I got more busy, and unfortunately I couldn't join. I hope I could join more later on, but yeah, it was not necessarily a personal thing. I was just like, I'm interested in climate change, and I thought Empathy Circle was a great tool, and I wanted to combine the two. So we started to do those once a month thing because Edwin was doing more about political stuff. And now that there is this focus on climate change with Extinction Rebellion that already exists, I feel we can have more impact there. So now maybe we can use those time differently on Saturdays afternoon for that topic. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, so I just want some clarification. Are you saying that you want to leave the Extinction Rebellion because you feel that they have heard about empathy circles now and talk about something else? Or
Yeah.
I'm not, so
yeah.
involved in this. So
Clarification. Yeah. Extension Rebellion is like, are you aware of Extension Rebellion? Do you know what they do? Okay.
but not the empathy suckers versus Extinction Rebellion. I've
Okay,
heard a little bit about it.
Okay, we got in touch with the group in the UK, and to offer, like, maybe we could use Empathy Circle in your network, and we had meetings with them. Edwina had meeting with them, and they are interested. And so now they've been doing Empathy Circle with Edwin and Carolina, I believe, and Bill also, maybe, I'm not sure. And we are getting in the topic of like climate change, and they are talking about what they're doing. So I feel that I'm trying to think about, and it's the 5 minutes are kind of up right now. So I'll try to wrap it up. It's not that I want to leave completely, because I'm still interested in that topic, but I think we'll have more impact using Extinction Rebellion network, using the Empathy Circle tool that having those Saturdays for that right now. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, okay. So what you're saying is that you already have empathy circles with Extinction Rebellion on Saturdays. Is that what yeah, okay. So now I get it.
Not necessarily on Saturdays, but on Fridays. But I'm wondering, we don't need to have both, maybe. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it seems like you're kind of conflicted about how to move on, move forward, maybe.
Okay. Conflicted is a bit of a strong word, but questioning. Okay. Yeah, curious to know what would be the next steps. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you. Carolina?
Okay, I'm listening.
I'm still sort of like trying to figure out how to listen so that I remember as much as possible, because I find myself trying to remember the previous things that somebody has said, but I also want to be present with what the person is saying in the moment. So yeah, I'm kind of like struggling between remembering things and being present with whatever the person is saying in the moment.
Let me reflect. Okay,
yes.
We both experience some problems with language, so I also need pausing. You pausing.
Yeah, you can reflect.
So what I'm hearing, you saying that you kind of experience problems with the method we used, and when your part is to reflect, you struggling with your ability to listen empathically, and at the same time kind of collecting things you have to reflect in your memory, collecting them in your memory. So you have to kind of do two processes in the same time, and it's difficult for you to be fully empathic when you have to recollect all the things you have to then repeat in your own words.
Yeah,
is it correct?
I don't look at it as having problems with being empathic, but it's just a kind of, it feels to me like there has to I have to build up some skills so that I don't have to remember everything that the person has said, and just sort of like compromise what the person is saying, and then move on to the other thing, and not sitting and thinking about what the person has said 10 seconds ago. So yeah, that's what I'm here for, because I really want to sort of like find the right way to reflect.
So you did some correction to what I said. What I'm hearing you saying that it's not the problem with empathic listening. It's rather kind of you think you need to practice to get kind of more efficient in this method of kind of flowing from one subject to another and flying from one side or surfing from one subject to another and kind of more efficiently reflect what somebody says.
Exactly. Finding a good strategy for how to listen. And I just want to just say that I did this with a friend 2 days ago, and we decided on the topic of polyamory, which was really a fun thing to talk about. And I found it to be much easier on my own language, but we just got so much closer. It just, things came out of us that I don't think we would have known without this method. So I was very excited about that. Yeah.
Let me reflect. So you tried 2 days ago. You tried this method with your friend in Sweden, and you were talking in your mother tongue, in your first language, native language, Swedish. And you discovered that it was much easier to do that in your native language, in your mother tongue. And I feel like I lost something. I was kind of disrupted. I'm sorry.
I just felt excited about talking to her in this kind of way. Yeah. It's done.
And you said that you both chosen a topic, polyamory. So it was kind of exciting and fun to talk about it. And and you discovered that it actually might be great when you speak in your own language. You feel kind of more involved in it.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. And I just want to pinpoint one thing that Bill said about the topic is not so important, because I think you will get the juice out of it no matter what you're talking about. So that's my opinion.
So you agree with Bill that in empathic circle, the topic is not the most important thing, but the kind of communication, the bond that is created between people. Is it what you mean?
Yes. Thank you, Caroline. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Okay, so who might choose to break the cycle, kind of turn a different way? Okay, maybe Bill.
Okay, listening.
After listening to all of you, I have so much to say that I don't know what to choose.
Okay, so you're establishing a little confusion in organizing your thoughts.
Yeah, because I want to say about what I'm doing in Extinction Rebellion. I want to say something about language we talk in and the difficulties Sophia or I can experience. I learned something interesting about it. I have a lot of ideas about using empathy circle in Extinction Rebellion action. So there's a lot of things I would like to share with you. Okay, you want to reflect?
Yeah. So you're bursting with ideas about the Extinction Rebellion. You want to talk about that. You also are bursting with ideas about how the Extinction Rebellion can use the empathy circle process. And then there was another thing you were talking. Oh, you were making revelations on people who English is not their first language, and the various depth and contextualized information that occurs when people are speaking in their native tongue.
Yeah. And another thing is just my feelings right now, how I feel right now. And maybe first I focus on that I'm this week kind of overwhelmed with things that happens. I'm involved, as I said, I'm involved in Extinction Rebellion here in Poland. And it happened to me thanks to Empathy Dialogue and thanks to Edwin, because he began this connections and cooperation with Extinction Rebellion. That's how I began my engagement and involvement in this movement.
So you are overwhelmed by your involvement with Extinction Rebellion and what's going on, and you're grateful for the Empathy Circle process and also Edwin for making the connection with Extinction Rebellion.
Yeah, that's how I discovered the possibility to engage here in Poland. And we're organizing climate state of emergency. We cooperate with few organizations here in my town. There are three parties, kind of left-wing parties, who also cooperate with this. We kind of organize initiative. We call that Pomeranian Climate Initiative. And we want our authorities, our local authorities, to announce climate alarm or climate state of emergency and to make it real. We don't want them to just announce that and be nice, but we want them to create a real policy of the state of emergency. State of emergency is kind of very specific regime for authorities, and we want them to function in this regime and to change a lot in our region, to kind of build new policy about energy, about transport, about water resources, and all the things. So we cooperate now with many organizations, and we are writing. Actually, right now, people sit and are sitting and trying to write the project of this state of emergency, what to do, organize people assembly or citizen assembly, and that sort of things. Okay, I stop.
Okay.
That will be difficult.
So with Extinction Rebellion, you've been cooperating with the three left-wing parties that are also concerned with climate change, and you wish to, for the authorities in Poland to create a state of emergency, which is more than just empty, as we say here, chin music, more than just empty words, but an actual plan to deal and to mitigate climate change, across the board in various ways.
Well, one correction, we work locally, so we work only in our region and our city. We call it Three City. It's agglomeration of three cities here. They are very close. Actually, people live in one city, work in the other one. So it's kind of one big agglomeration, and we work here. locally, and in every city in Poland, Extinction Rebellion activists try to do the same. It's not only 3 parties, it's more local organizations, NGOs, whoever wants to join this initiative can do that. We welcome everybody here, so that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, so the correction was that it's not a national movement, but it's a local movement where you have 3 cities, kind of what we would call here a megalopolis, and that you're trying to do things on a local level and replicate that across the country.
Yeah, and time is up.
Yeah.
Because Jessica, I don't see, Jessica is frozen on my screen, so I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, it's been up for a while.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, because I didn't see and I thought it's too long when I'm speaking. Okay. Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay.
And Caroline?
So sometimes let me know, because I might not see. Sometimes you are frozen on my screen. So please let me know.
Okay.
Kali.
I will give you some also audio times up, or let you know by talking if that helps.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to Sophia.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess I want to, for those that might be watching, speak to what's happening on the surface and then what's happening in the dialogue, underneath. And we've talked about, the relationships that are formed and the sense of community that is formed. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, so you're speaking to the ones who are listening to this dialogue, and you want to talk about what is happening beneath the surface, and also what's happening on the surface. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's great. And there's a difference between being a good listener and, or having the capacity to listen well, and practice listening. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, so there's a difference between being a good listener, which I'm curious about what you mean, and to practice listening.
So I'll flesh that out. There are many people, professional people, I was one of them, who are good listeners, but there's a difference. It's like a muscle, and practicing listening is something different again.
Okay, yeah. So you're saying that there are many people who are good listeners, but then there's also you're talking about the difference between listening and developing this kind of strength, the muscle to listen.
Yeah, through practice. Yes.
Yeah, through practice. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and this is more profound than people realize. For instance, in studies, they found that students, or that's my special ed teacher, so students who got therapy, talking therapy, were able to show the same sort of changes as those who were just on drugs. So the talking therapy actually made biochemical changes in their brains. I'll stop there.
Okay, so you're saying that only by talking, and I'm guessing that you meant that there was somebody listening to them.
A therapist.
That changed the biochemistry of their brain.
Right, and that's what we're, I feel that we're trying to do here. Rather, I put it out to you. If somebody, in a country in the Western world, or America, goes out the door, they think it'll probably be okay, but I got to watch out for that nut. Okay. And so when you start to participate, and if we really created a culture of empathy, you'd walk out the door and you'd say, it's an okay day, but I know if I get in trouble, somebody's going to be listening to me. So just substitute whatever that, robber or, vandal or something for someone who's willing to listen to you. And just think about how that changes your worldview. I'll stop there.
Yeah. So you're just thinking about the impact of every human being having, no matter what happens to that human being, what if everybody had at least one person who listened to them, no matter what they went through.
Mm-hmm. Right. Or even if not an assigned person, just people where the skill of listening is spread throughout. So wherever you go, somebody would say, oh, that person needs to be listened to.
Yeah. Yeah. So wherever you go, I'm guessing that you're also talking about listening to strangers.
Yeah. Right. In other words, there would be a societal, trust that your fellow, human being is there to help you through.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're talking about a sort of like society where, what I'm envisioning about what you're saying is that if I fell down on a street, somebody would be there to listen to me in that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, hopefully pick you up and get you medical attention as well, not just listening, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sophia. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Edwin?
Mm-hmm. Listening.
I just feel appreciation because I noticed that Bill was slowing down because I have these issues. Not issues, but I'm learning. So I just want to give Bill appreciation for for that. I noticed that he was trying to make an effort. Yeah.
You're going to share your appreciation for Bill, that he was being sensitive to you and slow down and kind of make it easier for you to follow him.
Yeah.
And you're noticing him slowing down and doing that to support you. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I just felt sort of like cared for in that. And I also, I felt kind of touched with what he was saying, because the kind of thinking that he has about creating a society where just a society where every human being gets to be heard and not judged, no matter what they are saying or going through. Wow, what a society that would be.
Mm-hmm. So you feel really touched by Bill's vision of everybody can be heard and not be judged, and sounds like that's really meaningful to you.
Yeah. So the thing about climate change, because I'm not so engaged in climate issues, I to be honest, I find that kind of boring now to talk about. I'm mainly here just because I want to learn to listen. But I do hear all the concerns that everybody in here has, and I respect those concerns, and yeah, I empathize with all of you, but I'm sort of like, I feel this eagerness to sort of like, oh, what if we talk about this? Oh, we can talk about this. There's so many things that I want to empathize with.
Mhm. Okay, so the topic of climate change is not so interesting to you, but you respect everyone else's, interest in it. And there's a lot of different topics that you would like that come up to you, kind of that you feel excited about. And it's also just the practicing of the listening and the dialogue is what's really important to you.
Yeah, and also the community that I know you all, some more than others, and I really appreciate the kind of these meetings. So yeah, I really feel connected just by sitting here. So.
Yes, there's a feeling of connecting with us, and so that we have a sense of community and connection. And it sounds like that feeling of connection and community is important to you.
Yeah, and I'm learning so much just by sitting here 4 times now. I think I'm learning so much out of this. I've been doing NVC for 2 years, but I think I've learned more in these circles than I've learned by reading books. So
so you have a sense of connection, sense of community, and also a sense of growth and learning, feeling of growth and learning. And it sounds like you really appreciate it. And it's just being able to talk, with this practice, you've learned more than just having done a couple of years of books and NVC work. So
yeah, and I'm just amazed that even if me and Carolina have these struggling with the language, we still seem to make the other person feel heard. And I noticed that when I talked to her, when the 5 minutes was over, I felt a sort of sense of relaxation because I really felt heard. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, so you're just noticing that even with the language struggles, that you're really able to feel heard and to hear others. And so in Carolina's, I'm not sure when you spoke to. So anyway, there was this feeling of really feeling heard and kind of a real sense of felt good.
Yeah, I was talking to Carolina, and she was reflecting.
Oh, so when she reflected it felt really good to be heard by her, even though it's not your native language. You still felt the sense of
even though it's not her native language. So I just wanted to tell her that.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, I feel a real sense of connection with Carolina. That feels good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I feel
okay. Then thanks. Enjoyed that. Jessica?
Yes.
Okay. Something that was coming up for me is I've done a couple empathy circles now on what is your experience of taking part in the empathy circle. And I really enjoy that because we're sort of like exploring the landscape of what is our experience here in the empathy circle. So I find that as a topic, I just find it very engaging.
You find exciting that it's talking about in your experience. You say few empathy circles, lots of empathy circles you've done. It's something that energizes you to talk about the impact that it has on people. Hearing Sophia talking about it, really, you leaned in.
Yeah. It's yeah. Just now, Sophia was talking about the empathy. You know, her experience, and the time before, she was talking about it as well. So there was that, as well as Bill was talking about the practice too. So it's like exploring this landscape and getting kind of clearer and kind of more articulate of the listening landscape. I think is just kind of very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. You've been using the word landscape a few times now, so
Yeah.
it's about this idea of like maybe a bigger picture about this listening practice that empathy circles offer, this structure to really practice this listening, and you recognize in yourself that this is something that really interests you.
Yeah.
And yeah, you use the word energize as well a few times.
Yeah, because it's like insights. I'm learning different insights into. I really see this as like Sophia's mentioning. Like I've met people who've done 10 years of NVC work, and they hadn't even been doing empathy. So, I mean, a simple empathic listening practice. I mean, it's like I don't know what it is with, and you know, different versions of it are different, but you know, it just seems like this is really the starting point. All the stuff of NVC, you know, feelings, identifying feelings, getting the feelings behind the feelings, needs, is all great stuff, but it really seems to start with what we're doing here. And just doing what we're doing here is I think just an unappreciated practice that, you know, I really want to, you know, spread so this exploring the landscape is kind of exciting because I think it can help spread it if people kind of understand the landscape of the experience of the listening.
Mm.
That's a lot, I know.
Like I think I can combine in two different things. One is like your own recognition of this energy that you have, that it's in this interest you have and excitement to hear about. You mentioned the landscape, like this, how Empathy Circle is really the starting point of practicing listening. Not all the books in the world can really make you be able to be a good listener. You need to practice, and you recognize, I'm guessing it makes you happy and reassures you that Empathy Circle is a great tool and is a great starting point. And when you were sharing, like, you know, I've met people who've been practicing NVC for 10 years, and that's great. And at the same time, they're still lacking this, like, really, truly listening piece.
Well, they haven't done just this mutual empathic listening, just a simplified practice. You know, there's been a lot of lecture. They've heard a lot of, you know, but it's like, yeah, there's something kind of missing there.
Yeah, you're wondering there's a missing link between, like, oh, well, very, like, the big concept, whereas that was the second piece I think noticing is like how unappreciated the simplicity of the empathy circles are. And what's also unappreciated, I'm wondering for you, it's the simplicity and the immensity of impact it has. That's what's completely not seen and appreciated fully, and how this is what, by talking about it today and talking about this landscape of empathy circle and listening practice, how this is what needs to be spread. This is what you want people to see, and what could catch fire when people are going to understand how this simple listening practice can have a huge impact.
Yeah, it's like we can create a better map for people to make it easier to navigate. So each of these insights is, helping build a map. And I'll just finish with, so actually the topic of what is your experience of taking part in an empathy circle, I think is a good topic in and of itself, and maybe even try that as a topic for next week. Just say, well, here we're doing an empathy circle. What's your experience? Kind of in the moment. What are you in? So I'm just thinking of that as a topic.
Mm-hmm. So now you're feeling inspired to actually maybe doing it as officially for next week, to talk about really experience and impact of empathy circles, and maybe using the video, I'm guessing, to show to people this is what this amazing tool can do.
Yeah, I feel heard. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Edwin. I'll go to Carolina.
Okay, I'm listening.
I'm actually not sure what to talk about. Feeling a bit unsure. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you saying that you are not sure what to talk about, kind of feel lost.
Yeah, feeling lost. Yeah. It's confirming for me to hear Sophia saying, you know, I would love to talk about other topics. Edwin feeling energized by talking about empathy circle experiences. So it's confirming my feeling when I came in this morning about maybe talking about what are you feeling about climate change, that we need to move on from that.
So what I'm hearing you saying that when you were listening to what Sophia says and Edwin, it's kind of make you you that's it's kind of assure you convinced you to think that the topic should be kind of left on side for a while because people are kind of tired with the topic about climate, or maybe there is a need to talk about other things, sort of.
Or talking about climate change differently.
Okay, so the correction, you think that probably we should talk different way. Definitely you feel that we have to change something about our empathy circle concerning climate. Definitely we have to change something.
Yeah, I'm wondering, and one thing I wanted to say a bit more through Sophia, but I want Sophia to hear. If she has any idea of topics she wants to talk about, can you please come forward and let us know, and then we can, create Saturdays like that, because I think we are craving for. So I love this, the topic you mentioned about poly. I think that could be great. That could be a great topic. So any ideas you have, I would love to hear more about it.
I'm afraid I lost the beginning of what you were saying, because I don't know what's happening. I was trying to control. I'm sorry that I interrupt your speech, but I'm trying to establish right connection. Everything is okay, but still I'm losing a part of what you're saying. You are interested in what Edwin was saying and proposing the topic. Is it right?
It was Sophia's. Sophia mentioned that she has so many ideas about topics other than climate change, and I was encouraging her to let us know her ideas.
Okay, so you encouraging Sophia to talk more about the ideas she has in her mind to share with us. Maybe we create different topics, different empathy circles on different topics. That's what you're suggesting.
Yeah, and one last piece that just popped now. I'm wondering if making the topic a bit more narrow and not as vague as big concept.
Okay, so you start right now, you got to the idea that maybe we should create a topic that are the question in a topic, whatever, should be more narrow, not that vague, that might be more interesting, more concrete, so to speak.
As an example, in July, there's a project called Plastic Free. I think it's in July, or was it in June? And it could be a topic. What do you think of Plastic Free June? You know, like something that's very specific that people can have an idea or an opinion about as an idea.
Okay, so you talking about example of the topic, for example, talking about plastic or making our life or economy free from plastic. This is something very specific, very narrow. It's still about climate, but very narrow topic. And it involves kind of personal experience, what people feel about. People can have kind of personal approach and feelings about it. It's more
exactly.
concrete. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, Caroline and Karina. One last thing is, even your topic, I was always interested to have, I never told you that, but you know, capitalism and climate change, like, or free market, like framing, like connecting, like economy and climate change. That's a topic I think it's a bit more narrow than just how do you feel about climate change. Yeah. Thank you.
So you also add that you think that even such a topic like capitalism and climate crisis is more narrow than just what are your feelings about climate change.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Carolina, if you heard.
Thank you. So who might choose? Maybe Sophia?
Yes.
A lot of things to say. Maybe I say something about language of empathy circle. So lately I learned that we actually think more empathically, more emotionally in our first language. And when we speak in our second language, we are more logical. That was discovery for me. And it has...
Can I
okay,
reflect?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you're saying that when you're talking in your native language, you're talking more out of emotions, and when you're talking your another language, it's more analytical.
Yeah. And it's actually a scientific discovery, psychological or psycholinguistic discovery, that our brain works different way when we speak in our native language or the second language. It's kind of the function of our brain, the way we learn other language kind of shift us into more analytic, more logical approach than when we speak in our first language, which is kind of natural, very natural.
Yeah, so you're just emphasizing that empathizing that when you're, it's scientific that when you're talking in your second language or a foreign language, there is some proof that we do get more analytical.
Yeah. So I'm very curious because I didn't have any opportunity to practice empathy circle in my mother tongue. So I'm very, very curious how it will go for me personally. I stopped there.
Yeah, you're curious about how it would go for you when you do it in Polish, your native language.
Yeah. And I also want to add that I feel the very same connection you mentioned, that you feel kind of connected to all of us. I experienced that a lot. Well, I spent maybe not all the 8 years, but for sure last 3 years at home, taking care about my mom, who was severely ill. And it was tough time for me because I was kind of, I don't know, detached from everything that is important to me. And the online meetings became kind of, well, my anchor to the life, to other people. So it was a profound experience to have the opportunity to talk to other people. It was also different groups, and that was the something that kept me sane, actually. So I really understand what you mean when you're saying about connection. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is that you are also feeling this kind of connection, as I mentioned, and when you're home taking care of your ill mother, you felt kind of disconnected from the world, and the online world. I'm guessing that you also participated in something like this. Was actually something that kept you sane. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah.
Yeah. Sane and still kind of alive, because it was, it was profound experience for so long. It was really difficult for me. So it was so important to meet some people every week, every 2 weeks, to talk to them. They knew what's happening to me, and it was very supportive. So it was very strong bond for me. And I really understand, even if somebody is not in that situation like I was, it still might be very, very important connection.
Yeah. So you're saying that no matter what you're going through, it's something that really has touched you and that you feel is important to you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I have the very same impression that Jessica mentioned about so-called boring topics. I think that we have to create more problematic topics, or maybe address our topics to very well. It's like a facilitator groups that we have in, I don't know, in 2 hours, but we need to address our topics to very specific groups. For example, I began to invite people in Extinction Rebellion to our meetings,
5
because
minutes,
I
Karen.
really. Okay, thank you. I'm wrapping up. So I start to invite people from Extinction Rebellion because I feel, okay, those people have to know that we do such things. Maybe they will be interested, and actually they express interest. Just, it's the thing to find time, because we are usually very scheduled. Well.
Yeah. So you're expressing a wish that we narrowed. I said we now, but these empathy circles narrow down to specific groups. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Not only the topic, to formulate differently topic, but also kind of send the invitation to very specific groups to address these topics, whatever we talk about, to specific groups on Facebook. Yeah, that's what we have to do, because they are particularly interested in. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who haven't I talked to? Jessica?
Yeah.
Yeah, you asked me that question, so I can answer you now.
Yes.
I actually wrote down specific topics that I want to talk about, but I just want to mention also what Carolina says, because I'm actually very good at the emotional language and English language, because that is what I'm doing online. You know, I'm talking about childhood trauma, I'm talking about emotions. So I'm kind of like, if when we talked about fear, I think it was with you, I felt so at home with that topic. So I'm struggling with the kind of political language on English, because I don't know where all the words. Yeah, you can reflect.
Yeah, so I hear you start by saying that you're going to share some topics that you already wrote down. So that's exciting. And also saying, to go circle back a little bit with Carolina, that for you it's actually interesting because you've shared so much of personal stuff online that your vocabulary of your emotional vocabulary is pretty extensive. Whereas if you would like to speak more about political stuff, it's more narrow. So for you, you are more comfortable talking about personal stuff in your second language because you do have the vocabulary that supports that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So the topics that I just came out of me was, I have already mentioned feminism to the rest of the group. I want to talk about racism. I want to talk about Islamophobia, white privilege, legalizing drugs, and especially weed, because I find that topic to be so toxic. The legalization of weed, you know, it's so toxic. I have tried to have a discussion with these people, but they are so negative. So I would enjoy that kind of empathy circle. And also, we have a discussion. We actually had, sorry, am I talking too much? Do you want to reflect?
No, that's fine. I wrote down your topics and you can keep going. And unless you want me to reflect back, but I think it's just a list of like.
No, it was mostly for you. I don't know what the wording is in English, but we have made a law here in Sweden where you have to consent to sex. So basically what that means is that if you haven't said yes to have sex, if that person hasn't fully agreed, like, yes, I want to have sex with you, it's basically rape. Because there are so many there are so many rape victims that falls under the law, basically, just because, well, you didn't say no. So that has been a big discussion here in Sweden, and we actually had that kind of law. What is the name? They set that law that there has to be a consent. So that would be a very interesting topic to talk about too. My mind is just like, there's so much to talk about that people are so enraged by. Where you can just infuse the empathy in these kinds of dialogues. So
yeah,
you reflect.
Yeah, Well, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask because English is also my second language. But a law about sexual consent, I don't know if there's another way. We can ask Bill and Edwin if they know better. And you were talking about how the topic that you are the most interested in seems to be really triggering people. It really touched people to the core, and people get so strongly emotional about it, and they have strong opinion about it, that you really think that using Empathy Circle would be so helpful to at least maybe getting started in talking about those very important topic for you. And I can see the energy that you seem very excited about it. It's something that really matters to you a lot.
Yeah, and I actually believe that just getting to like talk about triggering topics, that can also create sort of, what's the word in English? We call it circle on waters, so that eventually we can have those kinds of discussions about climate change, because we're already discussing all these other triggering topics, so we know the language, and yeah, that those are my thoughts about it.
Okay, so the 5 minutes are up, so is that okay if I reflect back and then we stop there once I reflect? Sophia, is that okay?
Yeah.
So what I heard was like, and I'm actually not sure if I fully understood that, so let me try to reflect back. For you, talking about triggering topic, using triggering topic in Empathy Circle could also actually help to talk about climate change.
Yeah.
Because it is triggering for a lot of people as well. And so by using Empathy Circle with triggering topic, people will have a similar language, the language of empathy. And so it will be easier and easier. It will get easier to talk about all the other also very triggering topic. Did I hear that right?
Yes. That is my thought about it, but I don't know. But yeah, you heard me correctly. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. You were just sharing about, all the fiery thoughts you were having.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll go to Bill.
Okay.
Cool. I am feeling super excited about Sophia's topics. I do feel, even as a facilitator, I know I was getting comfortable because I was lucky so far to not have to deal with people strongly emotionally triggered. And it's very reassuring and easy, really.
Okay, so you were very excited about Sophia's creativity and the subjects, and then also you're feeling that as a facilitator, you feel you've gotten kind of an easy ride so far because you haven't had to deal with a real emotional reaction, a traumatic emotional reaction.
Yes, and that being said, I do have a practice with another person where we practice more of how to stay in empathic listening when we are really triggered, because this is what I wanted to practice for myself and as a facilitator. So I'm doing that on a different time. And I'm saying that because Sophia's topic, I truly believe the more triggered they are, the more Empathy Circle could be useful. And I'm recognizing as a facilitator that freaks me out because,
Okay.
And I know as I'm going to stop here. You're right.
Oh, sure. So you're practicing with another friend, really a very trusted friend, how to stay in the empathetic, listening process when you're feeling traumatized or, triggered. And so you're doing that to build your skill also in listening, but also as a facilitator. And then as a facilitator, you're kind of, you're concerned and worried about having to deal with a real traumatic issue that happens, in a group, and then what you would do.
Yes. Which is, I think, partially why I was a bit nervous doing really political topics with Edwin, because it's usually people with opposite opinion, and I didn't feel I had enough tools to deal with that. And so doing those empathy circle was supposed to get me my confidence increased, which it has, and also it hasn't, because it's been easy because you guys are awesome. So
No. So you purposely put yourself into a situation about doing empathy circles across political divides, because then in a sort of supportive situation, you could then deal with people who have very, very strong views. But it hasn't happened because we're so awesome.
in a way, yes. Yeah, I guess the last thing I'd like to add is that I would love to follow up with Sophia's topic and create more triggering topic, especially white privilege for me has been last few years eye-opening to read about that, to know my own reaction, to understand my own privileges. And I think it's our responsibility to work on it.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm feeling really nervous and excited about maybe following up with Sophia's topics and doing more empathy circle on that.
So you're really gratified about Sophia's creativity and coming up with those topics. And it also triggers a little bit of worry because you're going to be going into somewhat uncharted territory. But you're even though that exists, you're looking forward to it. You're looking forward to the challenge, and specifically, you want to deal with the issue of white privilege.
Perfect. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, for sure. All right. Carolina?
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. So, first of all, for people, listening, but also people here, as a special ed teacher, the students that I was at the more intense end. So the students that I dealt with had failed in 2 or 3 schools before they came to me, and I'll stop there.
So what I'm hearing, you recalling your professional experience as a special education teacher, and you dealt with people, students who, well, they failed in few schools before they got to your class.
Right. And the first thing that I would say to them is that you are heroes because you're children dealing with adult problems, and there's nothing harder in the world. I'll stop there.
So you had this habit to tell them first thing when you met them first time.
Mm-hmm.
You always told them that they are actually heroes to you because they have to deal with adults' problems, but they are kids, they are youngsters.
Right. And that's a process that I also, go through myself when I feel, unsure about something. And so I want to express my real appreciation, and I hope you see the English second learners here, see yourself as heroes, because generally people at the first sign of, irritation or uncomfortableness or, uncertainty, don't go through. And you have. And I just want to let you know how profound that is.
Okay, so now you're appreciating Sophia, Jessica, and me, that we that we are actually in the very same situation when we have to face the challenge of the second language communication. And you saying that most of people, when they face such a situation, they just go away, run away from the challenge. And but we try to do that.
Yes. And I include myself when I'm, I'll give up sometimes too. But how important that is. There was an author who talked about writing a book, and the book was published and very, popular. And everybody went around and said, "Oh, great, great." And then he said, "Well, where were you when I was struggling with the outline? And where were you when I was struggling, before it was recognized?" There was a whole process that went through it. And that process needs to be supported.
I'm not sure what you're talking right now, what you're saying right now, because you start to talk about some author
Right.
of the book, and you're talking about its readers or the author and the experience of the author.
So I'm making a parallel, an analogy towards gaining skills and towards a goal. And once we achieve the goal, we get all the accolades and the support. But when we really need the support is when we are developing the skills for that, and that's what the author was talking about,
Okay, so you're talking about the fact that people are usually appreciated when they achieve the goal.
Right.
When they need to be appreciated and supported when they struggling to gain the aim, the goal, whatever they want to achieve.
Right.
It's kind of situation in anything we do, as I understand.
Yes. So I just, again, for people, just to illustrate how this process supports that emotional support and skill building.
And skill what?
Skill building.
Oh, so you want to emphasize that this emotional support our viewers can see here is very important.
Yes. Thank you, Carolina. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. And I can say that that's true. Well, I have to choose somebody. Well, maybe Edwin. Can
Listening.
Okay.
And I'm hearing you agree with Bill.
So yes, this support, emotional support, is very important. I told that to my Polish friends whom I invite to our meetings, and I feel they kind of feel intimidated. Kind of, that's what I think happens to them. They are very interested in Empathy Circle, but they also afraid to participate, kind of. And I think I told them that I find a great support from all of you. Even I do mistakes. Sometimes I don't understand what somebody says. Sometimes I stuck in the middle of the sentence. Sometimes I can't find the word. But still I find a lot of support from you, and I don't feel kind of frightened or scared to speak this foreign language, for me, foreign.
Mm-hmm. So you're telling your Polish friends who you're encouraging to take part in empathy circles that, well, you're saying that they feel sort of some anxiety about taking part, and you're telling them that you feel very supported when you take part in an empathy circle. And I'm not quite sure if there's that sense you feel supported here you feel supported taking part here, but also that the empathy circle would be support for them in general for their work. So there's
Well,
two
I
different
think
things there.
yes, but I can't split them because empathy circle is you. So yeah, it's you person in person, but it's also the method. But you know, it's hard to split those 2.
Mm-hmm. So the two are actually one and kind of the same. Hard to kind of split the difference.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Well, and I actually feel very often that I'm recharging batteries when I meet you guys. So that's kind of feeling I have every week. Sometimes I'm really tired and I think, oh gosh, maybe I will pass this meeting. But then I come here and it's always kind of good that I joined. Okay, I stop.
Yeah, so taking part in the empathy circle is like coming to recharge your battery. Like before, it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it, but then you come and you just feel recharged.
Yeah. I have a lot of ideas about using empathy circle in Extinction Rebellion. Maybe it's easier for me because I'm involved in both, not like anybody else. Nobody in Extinction Rebellion is involved so deep in this method, and nobody in our team is involved so deep in Extinction Rebellion. So I'm kind of I don't know, trickster between both parties.
Yeah, so you're deeply involved in both Extinction Rebellion and the empathy circles. So it gives you think it gives you like extra insights into how they could be used together. So you have a lot of ideas are coming up on what could be done.
Yeah. And I just want to mention now one thing. It's the street action. Because Extinction Rebellion activists mostly talk about resolving conflicts inside, kind of about regenerating culture, about how to deal with the situation of imprisonment and that sort of thing. But I see Empathy Circle as a tool in a street action. I stop there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so right now they're talking about empathy circles within XR for how you create regenerative cultures, how you do conflict resolution. But you're looking at like when you're doing a street action, how could you use empathy circles in that street action?
And actually, one of the rules of XR is we call it disrupting. Well, in general, disrupting the system, in particular the public transport or blocking some industry plants or whatever. It's kind of action that disrupt regular functioning, kind of different branches of economy. But I believe that and there is even leaflets that we can hand to people, to bystanders or just regular people on the street when they feel disturbed by the XR action. These leaflets have the information, we are sorry for inconvenience. So we kind of apologize other members of society because of doing our actions.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking at how empathy circles could be used in the street actions. And one of the things is you're saying that, well, you could create a flyer that apologizes for disrupting people. Because part of the action is disrupting the political system, the economic system, or inhibiting, like doing a street action, blocking a bridge, whatever. So you're saying no, or
well, I didn't mean to create such flyers. They already exist. And the thing is that the rule of XR action is to disrupt the system and apologize citizens for having troubles, problems because of the XR action.
Oh, okay. So
and I will. Mm-hmm.
So the time was up, but you're saying that the XR already has flyers. They already apologized, and you were kind of wanting to add to that. You had some. It sounds like you had some ideas for adding to that.
Can I say that, or
yeah? Maybe we should finish the make sure you feel
okay.
heard.
May I, guys?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the thing is, we should accept the fact that we XR activists. We should accept the fact that we disrupt the life of regular, casual people, and we actually, when they are frustrated, for example, drivers on the street, okay, they are stopped because we're blocking street. They are annoyed, they are frustrated, sometimes they are very angry, okay. And this is the moment when we should use empathy dialogue. I know it's difficult, but this is the moment of connection with other people.
Oh, So when the system is disrupted and people are feeling upset about it, that there's sort of a connection there, and this is the time to use empathic listening to connect with those people who are upset about their lives being disrupted. Yeah, action.
Yeah, and this is the moment when we have connection to those angry, frustrated because of our actions people. And I know they are frustrated, but this is the moment to listen to their frustration and build the connection and tell them, okay, I know you are frustrated. I'm sorry for that. There is a leaflet. We explain what we're doing, but I understand. But this is the only moment we have connection.
Oh, okay. So there is an engagement. Yeah, let's use the engagement. There is a connection there, and you want to use that engagement. And there, because you've got a relationship going, and there's some energy there. So
okay. And I want to go through this even frustration, anger, and try to get to them kind of emotionally, to understand them and to start talking about climate crisis.
So there's some feeling and emotion there, and then you want to connect with them through this feeling and emotion about climate change. So kind of build on that. So
thank you.
Sure. Sophia?
Yes.
Okay. The whole aspect of how to use empathy circles or empathic listening in the demonstrations, I think is really resonate with Carolina about that. So I'm kind of excited about the possibilities there. I think it's an important aspect for what we're doing to kind of get the word out about empathic listening.
Yeah, so you felt excited about what Carolina proposed about giving empathy to frustrated people on the street.
Yeah, it's more in terms of doing an action, and then how do we use empathic listening in those actions. So it's not just that which she's speaking of. So the aspect I'm interested in is in terms of doing a nonviolent action, from my understanding, the first step is to try to talk to the people in power, to have a dialogue. So I can imagine doing an action here in Berkeley where I'm at, and that we first go to the mayor, police chief, city council and say, hey, we would like to have an empathy circle about climate change and the empathy deficit. So I'm kind of adding empathy deficit to the issue. It's not just climate change, but climate change is part of the empathy deficit. And we want an empathy circle with you to talk about that. And they will say, hey, we don't have time for it. And then we say, okay, we're going to set up in downtown Berkeley until you have time for us. So we do an occupation, and then the occupation is actually empathy circles. So it's citizens doing empathy circles with each other, and then also having seats for talking to people who are passing by. Oh, we're here to listen to you. So the occupation, it's very integrated into the whole the action, the empathic listening. So there's like a lot of little empathy circles, and we're there until the officials will do an empathy circle with us.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is that the first step is to try to get the people who have power to get into an empathy circle, and if they don't listen, you do the what is it called?
Social action,
yeah, the
demonstration,
action.
Occupation, yeah. Something.
Yeah, and at that action, you do this thing that Carolina talked about, where you interact with people on the street, and then you have those kind of empathy circles on the street until the people in power gives in.
Yeah, until they give in, to just have a dialogue. So it's not to try to shame them. It's not try to, it's just not to just demonstrate for demonstration, for the sake of demonstrating. The whole point is to have them model empathic listening. They have their needs, which are valid. And, we have our needs, and everyone else has their needs. But we need to be teaching or practicing the container of the dialogue, where their needs matter and our needs matter and everybody's needs matter. But, we need that container. So it's just to bring them to the table, in a sense, to talk.
Yeah. So it's not about shaming them. It's about making their needs just as important as your needs, and creating a container in which you demonstrate empathic listening. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah. And then the occupation, so I'm imagining downtown Berkeley, at first we occupy a square, if they don't want to talk to us. And then we just do empathy circles there. Like all the participants, it's 24-hour empathy circles, just dialoguing. And then the community that's walking past, we can have chairs lined up that we're here to listen empathically, so people can come and sit down. We just listen to you about what's important to you. And so we model empathic listening. And then we invite them into, once they feel comfortable, into an empathy circle. So we teach them how to do empathy circles. So it's very much around the dialogue. And then we're sort of modeling it for the political officials. And also this part about the political right, seeing them as an enemy and we got to fight them and all that. I think we need to be listening to them. It's like the skinheads, the Nazis, whatever, trying to be there to listen. It's not about we have to beat them up. It's about we have to, advocate for this mutual listening.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you saying is you first said to occupy a square or something, and to just bring in the people in the community that are passing by, and sitting them down on a chair and just to listen to them, and then bringing them into an empathy circle if they feel that they want to do that. And the second part is that you have a strong sense of, we need to listen to these people, the skinheads, all the people with strong opinions. It's not about fighting them, it's about listening to them.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's do one last round before we record the experiences.
Okay, Bill.
I'm listening.
Yeah, I actually got excited about listening to both Carolina and Edwin, because yeah, I like those ideas. Both the ideas about making an action and sort of like interrupting regular people's lives, and then doing empathy on the frustration that they are feeling. I really agreed on that. Yeah, you can reflect.
Sure. Well, you like the idea and the theme that both Edwin and Carolina were talking about, and that is to incorporate the principles of the empathy listening circles in a public action.
Yeah, and the whole process. I've never heard Edwin talk about the kind of the process that he wants to do. So that was very interesting to hear, and I really think that this could do an impact just by this is nonviolence in action. I really believe that, and yeah, I just feel sad because we're sitting all over the world. I would sort of like want to meet up and, you know, do a sort of community thing. It feels so frustrating to just feel that I'm sitting here in my town all alone and I can't help you.
So you're really excited and energized by what, again, Edwin was saying about incorporating, and you really could feel how making the listening a part of the public action is so important and feels really right to you. And then you express frustration that with all these ideas and all this energy going along, we're sort of, you know, spread throughout the world, and you'd love to, you know, get together with everybody and, you know, and work together.
Yeah. And just a side note, it just feels so good in the end of all these empathy circles, because I notice that I get more and more comfortable with reflecting and listening, and it feels sort of like I'm putting my ego aside, sort of like, okay, so this is not about me. This is about listening to other people, because I notice watching myself in the camera, do I look good?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as the time passed by, I sort of like focus in on you and watch all of you, and you know, the ego sort of like melts, or what do you say?
Mm-hmm. That's fine. So you're reflecting on the process of the empathy circle and how it really, the experience addresses your, you know, fears and misgivings, and you notice that you're much more or less self-conscious about yourself, and you're really getting into the other people, and you just find this, you know, a very energetic and supportive event.
Yeah, and just to sort of like watch yourself. I'm watching myself, and I'm seeing how I'm working, and when I'm listening and when I'm not listening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting to see how it feels sort of like I'm sort of like rewiring the brain when I'm in this kind of circle, because this is not what you're doing in regular life. So yeah, I feel that there's something in my brain that is happening.
Right. So you're seeing the change in yourself through the experience of doing this, and you like the change in yourself. It seems to be positive, and you can actually see how, change doesn't have to be painful or traumatic.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing that you said in the beginning, Bill, about something about the brain. What did you say? You can.
Sure. I talked about how talking therapy, the talking cure, as they call it, has the
Yes.
same effect on the brain as many drugs.
Yes, yes. And I can really sense that in myself also. So, yeah, the 5 minutes are up. Thank you for listening. I feel heard.
Sure. Okay, great.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. This is wrapping up the empathy